What's up guys, it's Dani and this is Monday on Borderline Lives, and this week's theme is Disney, and I am really excited for this video. Instead of doing, like, I know the other girls on the channel are doing like the humming challenge or Disney trivia, instead of doing things like that, if you could not tell from the title, I will be talking about Disney princesses and feminism. Now, I know it's actually a pretty popular thing, or it's becoming a pretty popular thing more recently, for people to say, well, I don't want my daughter to watch and idolize Disney princesses because they are anti-feminism. And I think that that is entirely false. I think that there's more to it than just that. And so I wanted to talk about and almost put it in a little bit of a ranking, not so much a ranking like exact numbers, but I wanted to talk about the different Disney princesses and how much feminism is really involved in their movies, in their personalities, I guess. Feminism is a collection of movements that share a common stated aim to define, establish, and defend equal political, economic, cultural, and social rights for women. Feminism isn't about hating men, it isn't about being superior to men, it's about making everybody equal, it's about eliminating the oppression that occurs based on gender, it's about eliminating the discrimination that occurs if someone is gender fluid or just chooses not to fit in the gender binary, to not fit in the boxes of this makes you a girl and this makes you a boy, and girls have to wear dresses and makeup and like princesses, and boys have to like cars and mud and not wear dresses. Like, it's about creating an equal playing field for everybody. Now that being said, liking sparkly dresses and makeup and princesses doesn't make you anti-feminist. You can still be a feminist and want a Prince Charming. You can still be a feminist and want to have a life where you're a housewife, where you're a stay-at-home mom, where you do the cooking and the cleaning. You can still be a feminist and want those things, but feminism is about not having to do those things. In front of me, I have just a list of the princesses and a brief description that I'm just gonna go off of. I'm not going to talk about The Princess and the Frog only because I have not seen it, so anything that I would say about that would purely be other people's ideas and opinions, because I can't really give a good description. Before I get into the princesses, I just want to, I'm only going to be talking about like the actual princesses, so I'm not going to be talking about Wendy from Peter Pan, I'm not going to be talking about Mulan, I'm not going to be talking about Pocahontas, because like technically they're not princesses, and I'm just I have a little thing so that sets them apart as Disney princesses. They claim the title princess either through birth or through marriage. They are rewarded a happily ever after in the end by marriage. All of these princesses in the beginning of their stories are trapped in unhappy, oppressive circumstances, physically, emotionally, or socially, and they all dream of escape, freedom, and happiness. And each of these stories, in each of these stories, there is a villain who basically their only motive is to keep these girls oppressed, to keep them unhappy, to stop them from gaining this freedom that they long for. And that's where, for argument's sake, that's where you can really see the feminism of each princess, how much they do in these opportunities to fight against this oppression from the villain. We're gonna start with Snow White. Snow White was a huge step forward in animation. It was very successful, and that was in 1937, at the time, it was very normal for women to kind of be inferior, to kind of be undermined, so it's not necessarily the fault of anybody that Snow White is kind of the least feminist Disney princess there is. That being said, the reason behind that is she has this dream of falling in love with the prince, which again, totally fine. You can have that dream all you want. However, she doesn't actively do anything to pursue that dream. She sits around and lets things happen to her, and in the end, she really just kind of gets lucky that the prince happens to find her and kiss her and save her. She doesn't go out and make her dreams happen, she just lets things happen. Next we have Aurora from Sleeping Beauty. She as well isn't very feminist, but in her defense she was pretty much asleep the entire time. But again, she dreams of this freedom and this happiness. She's slightly more feminist than Snow White because when love stumbles across her path unannounced, Aurora recognizes the opportunity and takes it, making the bold decision, inviting Philip to see her again. Overall, though, this is kind of the only thing that she actively does to further her past, to further her freedom, to further her romance. Next up, we have Belle in Beauty and the Beast, and it's only briefly mentioned in the movie, but Belle's dream is to just go out and have adventures and explore. She never dreams of finding true love or finding a prince, and even with Gaston, who pretty much insists that they're going to get married, she's just not interested whatsoever. But that in itself doesn't necessarily make her a feminist, it just kind of makes her kind of cool because no other princesses before her had such a different dream. All of the other princesses before her dreamed of falling in love with a prince, so that just made her kind of different. It kind of makes her stand out from the very beginning. But throughout the film, again, like, she actively makes decisions. When she goes to the Beast's castle, she actively makes the decision to give up her freedom for the sake of her father, to save her father. One might argue that there would have been no difference than if Belle had chosen the captivity of marrying Gaston, but that is pretty false, because even though the Beast imposes on Belle's freedom, he doesn't impose on her dreams, because she's still free to find the adventure that she dreams of by going through the castle and exploring as she wanted.
Moving on to the last 4 Disney princesses I have here. Up next, I'm going to be talking about Jasmine. What really sets Jasmine apart from the rest of the Disney princesses is how spunky she is. She's very fierce, and as far as how strong of a feminist she is, the entire movie is dictated by her battle for the power of choice. That's what she, more so than finding someone to fall in love with, she longs to be able to make her own choices. She even says in the movie, "How dare you, standing there deciding my future? I am not a prize to be won." Up next, we have Cinderella, and she is much higher ranked on the list. Walt Disney himself said when talking about Cinderella, "She believed in dreams all right, but she also believed in doing something about them. When Prince Charming didn't come along, she went over to the palace and got him," which is very true. But even beyond that, Cinderella dreams and longs for a happy home life. She's basically held captive by her stepmother and hated by her stepmother and her stepsisters, and despite all of that, she tries hard to make the best of a poor situation. When she hears that there's going to be a ball at the castle, she asks to go, And despite her bad circumstances, she works very hard and surprises everybody and makes it to the ball. And some people may argue that she's not as strong as a character because her fairy godmother helped her, but that kind of goes along to strengthen her character even more because she accepts the fact that she cannot do it alone and that she is not perfect, and that, you know, she's able to swallow her pride and ask for help when she needs it. Second to last, we have Ariel. A lot of people view Ariel's actions and behaviors mostly as being just kind of childish or selfish and immature because she disobeys her father blatantly by continuing to go to the surface of the ocean, but that's part of what makes her such a strong character. And one of the biggest things that a lot of people really view as a mistake, which I mean it was a mistake, but she sacrificed her voice. She sacrificed such a precious part of herself to be able to be a part of the human world and eventually get Eric to fall in love with her and stop his wedding with Ursula in disguise. She is very active in moving the story along. She doesn't just let things happen, she actively participates in making things happen. And last but not least, we have my favorite Disney princess, Rapunzel, in Tangled. She's locked away in this tower for her entire life, only having contact with Gothel, who she believes is her mother, and Gothel tells her all these terrible things about the outside world to keep her naive and to keep her hidden in this castle. And Rapunzel dreams of nothing more than being able to venture into the outside world and to go see the floating lights on her birthday like every year. And her mother says no, and she has to stay here because it's for her own good. And eventually Rapunzel enlists the help of Ryder Flynn. She basically tricks her mother into going on a trip that will last several days so that she can sneak out of the tower, go to the kingdom and see the lights, and then come back before her mother notices. When her and Flynn are on their way to the kingdom, she actively prevents him from being captured. She's also a very valuable fighter when they're trying to escape from the guards. She uses her hair to get them out of the situation when they're drowning. She heals his hand. She just does all of these great things, and even in the end, after she sees the floating lights, she has a new dream, and that's Flynn Rider. She agrees to go with Mother Gothel. She gives up her own freedom in order to save him. Rapunzel is amazing. She's my favorite. But that is all I have for this week's video. I know I rambled a lot and I was really repetitive, but nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope maybe you guys kind of thought about what I said a little bit. Maybe there's some things that you never really thought about before with Disney princesses. I don't know. Maybe there is, maybe there's not. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this Monday through Friday, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!